Hello and welcome to the TMC Newsroom. My name is Rich Tehrani. Thanks for watching. We're coming to you from Los Angeles, California, IT Expo West 2010 at the LA Convention Center. On our program today, Kevin Gavin, who's the VP of Marketing at ShoreTel. And Kevin, welcome back to our studio.
Good to see you, Rich. Thanks for having us.
Likewise, we're thrilled to have you, as always. Last time I spoke with you, I'm fairly sure it was Interrupt Las Vegas.
That's right, yep.
And it was a few months back. And since then, I know that you've come up with a whole bunch of new products and services for mobile devices and things like that. I wanted to talk a little bit about just some of your more recent announcements and products.
Yeah, great. So a couple things. We are focusing increasing on mobility. Mobile workers is obviously a powerful trend. So one of the recent releases back a couple months ago was the app for the iPhone. So now you can have your ShoreTel app on your iPhone as well as your BlackBerry, and soon in the future we'll port to the Android. But for now, the ability to have visual voicemail, find me, follow me, your calls flow there, set your call settings. So now you've got essentially in your pocket an ability to have sort of remote control for your PBX extension. Another recent addition was a web-based communicator. We're really focusing a lot in this most recent release on the end user productivity. And so we've always had a client-side downloadable application for your laptop where you could, again, visual voicemail, look at your call logs, click to call, do all those great things controlling your communication from your laptop, but it was a downloadable app. Now we actually have a web-based app so that there's no download. It's just username, password, login, and you get complete control over your communications infrastructure from an end user perspective, right from any computer with internet access and any browser.
Now, question, this may be too esoteric, but in terms of technologies, are you using HTML5 or is it Flash? Or I'm just curious if...
It's HTML. I'm not really on the technical side, but it's definitely HTML.
So because the challenge nowadays for a lot of the developers, well, depending on what sort of development that you're doing, is to get these applications to run on iPads that don't support Flash. So I'm always curious about the new development, whether it's going to be in Flash or not because of the iPad challenge.
Yep. We do have, again, our iPhone app obviously is not Flash, and so it's developed custom for the iPhone
right,
app.
So right, so the Apple
store.
Users can use that if they want to. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. Now, in terms of functionality, are we at a point where customers are looking at desk phones and saying, well, why am I going to need the desk phone?
We're seeing more and more customers ask that question, and we're actually hard at work at some solutions that we're really not ready to announce or talk about now, but where the opportunity exists to use your smartphone as an extension of your desk phone, and we think that's where the world's going, and we're hard at work at developing some things, and we'll look forward to having some announcents hopefully in the not too distant future.
Well, hopefully be here. Oh, we almost broke news. We came that close to breaking news.
It's not breaking news, but it was a tease.
Well, speaking of teases, you're going to be speaking later today, actually. So, assuming someone gets a chance to watch this at the show before, or if they're at home or in the office, they should fly down here and come hear you speak. And you're going to be speaking, and you've got a interesting keynote because you've got a practitioner with you, right? A customer.
The focus at ShoreTel is this whole concept of anti-complexity. We're going to try and focus not so much on the company as much as an idea, and that is that we're asking ourselves, and we're asking customers, and we're asking vendors to ask themselves, when did it become okay for technology to be so complicated, and why does it have to be that way? And it's almost a case where it's so many things are so complicated, and it's our perspective that it really doesn't have to be that way. And so we're really focusing on this whole concept of simplicity and why are certain technologies and why are certain products so darn complicated. And from an IT perspective, we're challenging the industry in general, the technology providers, to really address this issue of complexity and to not make their products so darn complicated so they're hard to administer and hard to run and take lots of support and lots of upgrades and lots of technical and training, and instead focus on making their products more simple. And we're encouraging IT people to really increase that consideration in their evaluation. When they're looking at vendors, make sure they're asking themselves a question. Not only how much does this cost up front and what are the feature set, and by all means they should demand and they should expect to get a rich feature set. There's not a trade-off between simplicity and features. You can have a feature-rich solution and it can be simple at the same time. So we're really encouraging the buyers to demand of their vendors that they answer the question, how complicated is it, how difficult is it going to be maintained, how much is it going to cost me to maintain this over time, and to consider that in their evaluation process.
So I have a few comments. Number one, your company is relatively new, PBX company. We don't call them PBXs anymore. Communication servers, phone servers, unified communications, etc. But the concept is still the same. You came out of almost nowhere, and you've now taken your company from selling to small to medium business customers all the way up to the Fortune 100, 500 class. So I mean, you've done an amazing job, and one of the things I hear over and over again is how you are able to deliver the features that people want in an easy-to-use interface, which we've learned from Apple, we've learned from Skype, we've learned from a whole bunch of other successes in other industries, that simplicity is what people want. So congratulations on being way, way ahead of the curve. The rest of the industry is now in hot pursuit, and so other communications companies that I've spoken with are coming at this now, with the understanding in 2011, 12, 13, that they are going to have new devices, new products, new interfaces, et cetera, that are easier and easier to use. So now the question becomes, how do you differentiate in an environment where everyone now is focusing on just the easiest interface ever? Is it just a war to have the most clean and classic interface, almost like an Android versus iPhone war to see who's got the least clutter, or even Windows Phone 7, who's got the least clutter on the home page, and who can do the most but make it seem nice and easy to get to everything?
Yeah, I think that one of the issues is that it remains to be seen. Everybody seems to be agreeing, and we welcome the focus on simplicity. And so everybody agrees that simple is good. The question is, are they really achieving it or not, and is it lip service or not? And that's what we're asking end users, customers, IT buyers, to not just accept the PowerPoints and the advertising, but go below the surface and make their own determination. Are they achieving that simplicity? And I think it remains to be seen in the next couple of years how successful some of these companies are at achieving simplicity. I think that there's two causes of complexity we've observed. One is when you bring forward legacy technology, it's great to have a large customer base, but you have the innovator's dilemma. When you continue to satisfy your older customers, and you got all these 20, 30 years worth of requirements and features and capabilities, and you have to support all those. When you bring those forward, the companies of Avaya and others, I mean, they've been successful at sort of sprinkling magic IP dust on their solutions, and they've certainly made them cheaper and better and faster, and it's all good. But at the end of the day, they're still dealing with an underlying legacy platform. And as much as they try, our observation is, and our customers' observation is, that those continue to be complicated. And so it remains to be seen how successful they are at making those legacy platforms simple, or how bold they're going to be to abandon legacy platforms and invent a new platform. The other way that you see complexity is in bolting together various acquisitions. Again, I think that's more the Cisco model, right? They've got great features, and every time they need a new feature, every time there's a new innovation, they go out and they buy innovation, they buy companies, and then they stitch it together, and they attempt to kind of paper over it, and they give a veneer, and certainly there's user interface enhancements that they make, and over time they try and make it simpler, but as they continue to evolve, it continues to look like sort of a bolt-on Lego set, and again, it remains to be seen. At ShoreTel, we have almost an unfair advantage, to be honest with you. Our technology was built in the IP era. We're only we're a 12-year-old company. We came to market 10 years ago. So we've got a legacy of success and stability, but we invented this in the IP era. Our engineers weren't a bunch of phone guys saying, how can we make a phone system better? They were really IT people. They were IP in the IP era. And they asked themselves, if voice was nothing more than an app running on a data network, how would I architect it? So from the very beginning, it was IP. And also, it's the same team of people that started 12 years ago, the same team of people running it today. And so it's a very cohesive single track. And as a result, almost out of necessity, we built a solution that was simple for ourselves to manage, evolve, and come forward as a relatively smaller company. And now that we've looked at it, we've went to our customers and said, well, what is it? We've got so many customers who are raving fans. They love ShoreTel. We went to them and said, what is it about ShoreTel that you like so much? Tell us about it. And it keeps coming back to this notion of simplicity. And they say, when they compare the ShoreTel alternative to the other alternatives in the market, ShoreTel today is dramatically simpler. And so it remains to be seen what happens over the next couple of years. We are challenging those competitors, and we welcome them to join us in squeezing out simplicity. We challenge them to accomplish that, and we will continue as we go forward to focus on simplicity as well. And at the end of the day, the customers will decide. But the more the focus and the battle comes to an understanding that simplicity versus complexity is central to the decision, we think that really plays in our favor.
So thanks for being on the program. I'm going to finish off with the following comment. Last night, I was at a reception where I spoke with David Yedwab. He's one of the speakers here at the show. He's a respected analyst in the communication space. I'm not sure if you know him, but one comment he made, we were talking about something similar, and he said that how did God create the world in why did God create the world in 6 days? And the answer is because he didn't have an install base to worry about. So that was kind of his play on this particular
It's a double-edged sword. I wouldn't mind
comment.
having a large installed base, but sometimes there's some advantages, and you got to play to your advantages, and that's what we're doing.
Well, especially in the last decade, like you said, when you are born an IP company, you have the ability to take advantage of
From the
IP.
beginning, clean sheet of paper and straight out doing it right.
And it's not just IP. I mean, it's protocols and things like that. You didn't have to worry about H.323. I mean, you knew by the time when you founded your company, the presence was important, SIP was important. We didn't have to worry about 323 and some of the other legacy issues that other companies had to deal with.
It's an unfair advantage, but we'll take it.
Nice to see you. Can't wait to see you on stage at the keynote.
Thank you very much, Rich.
Take care.
Appreciate it. Take care.